Someone is living in your house right now, and you have no idea what to do about it. Ever wonder why the law seems to protect the person who broke in more than the person who owns the place? Today, I'll explain squatter rights like you're 5 years old. By the end of this, you'll know every legal move you can make and the one mistake that resets the entire process. Plus, the law that lets a stranger claim ownership of your property completely legally. You own the place, you pay the taxes, and you have the deed. And there is a stranger sleeping in your spare bedroom, eating in your kitchen, and here's the part that really twists the knife. They have rights. Legal rights you are required to respect, even though they have no business being there. That feels insane. But knowing exactly how this works is the difference between getting your property back in weeks versus watching it drag on for months. This is legal education, not legal advice. Rules vary by state, so verify the specifics where you live. So let's talk about why you can't just call someone to drag them out. You've been traveling for a few months, or your rental sat empty while you sorted a new lease. You pull up to the property and the lights are on. There's a car in the driveway. Someone has been living there, cooking, sleeping, using your electricity, running up utility bills in your name, and they have no intention of leaving. Your first instinct is to call the police, change the locks, and shut off the utilities to force them out today. That feels like the right move, but here's the problem. Most of that is actually illegal. And not just technically illegal. In many states, it could expose you to a lawsuit filed by the person squatting in your own house against you. Let that land. The law treats squatters differently depending on how long they've been there and what state you're in. But in most states, once someone has been occupying a property for a certain period, even without permission, they get treated more like a tenant than a trespasser. That doesn't mean they own the place. Not yet. But it does mean you can't show up and physically remove them. You have to go through the courts. It's like the law put a very inconvenient speed bump between you and your own front door. Now, the police situation, and this surprises a lot of property owners. A lot of people call 911, the officer shows up, and nothing happens. The squatter says something like, "I live here. I've been here for months. I'm not going anywhere." The officer shrugs. "This is a civil matter. We can't remove them." That's not the officer being lazy. Police handle criminal trespass. The moment squatting starts to look like an occupancy dispute, especially once the person has mail, belongings, or any kind of established presence, it shifts out of criminal law and into civil court. Translation: you need a judge, not a cop. Officers are also trained to avoid removing someone who claims residency, because wrongly removing a legal tenant, even one who only appears legal on the surface, can expose the department to liability. That cautious default frustrates property owners deeply, but it explains why the badge at your door often feels powerless. Here's your first real move. Before anything else, document everything. Photograph the property from the outside and inside if you can safely access it. Note the date you discovered the situation. Check when you last had the property secured. This matters more than you think. The entire squatter case depends on timelines. How long have they been there? When did you find out? When did you take action? Those dates determine your legal options. Miss them, and you've handed the squatter an advantage they didn't even ask for. If you have neighbors nearby, ask when they first noticed activity at the property. Their recollections can serve as informal corroboration and may prove useful if the case reaches a judge. Step 2. Determine whether you can still call this criminal trespass. This window matters. If someone broke in recently, days, not months, and there's clear evidence of forced entry, some states still allow police to remove them as trespassers. But that window closes fast. The longer someone occupies a space, the more legal protection they accumulate. Think of it like mold. The longer you ignore it, the harder it is to get rid of. Act fast, and the options are wider. Wait too long, and you're in formal eviction territory. Let's say that window is already closed. Now you're looking at the formal legal process. Here's where it gets genuinely counterintuitive. Even though this person has no lease, no contract, no legal right to be there, in most states, you still have to issue them a formal, written notice to leave. Not a text message, not a verbal conversation. A written notice, sometimes called a notice to vacate or notice to quit, delivered in a legally recognized way, which in many states means certified mail or hand delivery. You're essentially giving a trespasser an official heads up that you're coming for them legally. I know, but this is a required step before you can file for eviction. Skip it, and the court won't even look at your case. The squatter's attorney, And yes, sometimes they have one, will have your case thrown out on day one. Not because they're right, because you skipped a step. Keep copies of everything. Proof of delivery, the notice itself, and any response you receive. Courts expect a paper trail, and arriving without one weakens even the strongest legitimate claim. Some attorneys recommend sending the notice through multiple delivery methods simultaneously to eliminate any dispute about whether it was received. The notice period varies, typically 3 to 30 days depending on your state and the circumstances. After that period, if they haven't left, and they're not leaving, you file an unlawful detainer lawsuit. That's the legal term for the court process that forces the issue. You're asking a judge to issue an order saying, this person must go, and law enforcement can physically remove them if they don't comply. Here's the timeline nobody warns you about. Notice period, 3 to 30 days. Filing and getting a court date, 1 to 6 weeks. The actual hearing, another few weeks out. Waiting period after judgment, 5 to 10 more days. You wanted them out this weekend. The law says maybe by spring. In busy urban court systems, this process regularly takes 2 to 4 months, even when you do everything right. The squatter knows that. They're counting on it. Now for the moment I mentioned at the top. The thing most people flat out refuse to believe is real. It's called adverse possession, and it exists in every single state in the US. Here's what it means in plain English. If someone occupies your property openly, meaning they're not hiding, continuously and without your permission, and you do nothing about it for a certain number of years, they can file a legal claim to own it. Not rent it, own it. Your property. Your name is on the deed, and someone else can become the legal owner. The time requirement varies wildly. Some states it's 5 years, some states it's 20. And the thing that resets the clock is you taking legal action. Which is exactly why acting fast isn't just about comfort, it's about protecting actual ownership. Every month you wait is a month toward a deadline you really don't want to hit. Yeah, a squatter can sue for ownership of your property, completely legally. That's the thing that should make you put down your phone and file that paperwork today. The law handed them this option. It's been on the books for hundreds of years, originally designed to resolve abandoned land disputes, and it's sitting there, quietly ticking, the entire time you're deciding whether to deal with it. Here's what's actually happening behind the scenes. The squatter isn't confused about the law. Sometimes they know exactly how this works. They know you might panic. They know you might change the locks illegally or threaten them in person. And every one of those mistakes resets the clock in their favor or hands them a lawsuit they can file against you. Their strategy is patience. The counter strategy is precision. So, you pull up to your property. Lights are on, someone's living there. Here's what you do. Document immediately. Photos, dates, all of it. Determine whether criminal trespass still applies. If not, issue a formal written notice. File for unlawful detainer without delay. Show up to every court date. Property owners who follow every step correctly almost always win. The process is slow by design, but it works if you work it. The panic you felt when you saw that car in your driveway? That's the whole game. Panicked property owners make illegal moves. Illegal moves create liability. Liability buys the squatter more time. But now you know the law, and you know their strategy. That's the superpower this video exists to give you. Drop a comment. Do you think squatters should have any legal protections at all? Or should property owners be able to remove them on the spot? Because the honest answer is more complicated than either side wants to admit. And I want to see where you actually land.